we had never had a great women's business. We reset the whole thing in 2015, and the whole campaign was about, strong women. But it wasn't then suck. It was just a empowering, for lack of a better word, campaign for women, featuring Alicia Keys and with product made for women and all this stuff. But then around 2018, 19, it became much more overtly political. Because you could argue a campaign that says women are bad, that's not political per se, But when Gillette does a campaign about toxic masculinity amidst the Me Too era, that is aligning your brand with a mode of activism that's happening in the market to profit off of that activism amongst younger consumers. So we didn't really start to do that until 2019, 2020. But it was sort of building there, right? Because it was internal and then it was external and then it got very political.
Yeah.
But I think it started around 2010 and then 2020 just blew the doors off. Right? That's when every company started, in the summer of 2020, every company started posting black squares on Instagram and disavowing their privilege and pledging to hire DEI officers and, join the fight against racism. If we don't have diverse companies, we're just as bad as the cops who murdered George Floyd, which is not true. You're not just as bad. So that's when it all kind of just accelerated. But there's lots of examples before that. I cited the Gillette example. I think that's around 2017 or 18.
Yeah.
And Levi's had some ill-fated efforts earlier. I mean, they did a campaign in 2011, which I'll just say was before I was the CMO. I did not run this. And it was part of this campaign called Go Forth. And it had this scene in the streets that was like a riot scene and these young people facing police officers down. And it happened to launch in the summer of 2011, right when there were all the riots in London, if you remember. And there was sort of fires in the street and property damage. And I think 5 people died. And they were called out for it and they had to pull the ad. But it was this idea that, championing these young people willing to go to war with the police.
Yeah.
And at the time, though, I mean, they were pilloried for it. We were pilloried for it, and they had to pull the ad.
So, I wonder, I would think there's a pretty bright line between women are awesome. Terry and I have this argument all the time because I'm still willing to call myself a radical feminist because I have this radical idea that women are just as capable of achieving professional accomplishments and they can very much compete with men in the workforce and everything else in life. She's an anti-feminist for exactly the same reason. But a campaign that empowers women is very different than this woke stuff that you and I are reacting to. And I think we're probably both coming from a similar perspective, which is live and let live. And I very much celebrate diversity and I want everybody to live the life that they want to live. But that's different from this one size fits all. You must celebrate only one choice in life, right?
Yes, it's totally different. And you're right. It is, in the past, in the, 70s, 80s, the beer ads of the 80s and 90s, it's all women in bikinis hanging on men or being ogled by men. Levi's ads were sort of similar. It was like a sexy girl that was off to the side and a hot guy and who always gets the girl. So putting women front and center with their own lives and interests was, I wouldn't call that value laden and or ideological in terms of what we're seeing now.